Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again, another one. Back on the 49 Chev. This one here, we got welding, holes to be cut out, more welding, and we even got the bumper mounted. Stick around. In the last video, I made these two complicated sections of frame horns for mounting the bumper, okay? Now that I got them all made, I can get the bumper all mounted, but first things first. I got the bumper over here, and as you remember, I done a pile of welding on it, cutting up stuff, making it all fit. I had to change the angle of it and everything. I got the grill mounted to it. I had to do a bunch of work to this bumper as well. Now, I think it'd be wise for me to get all that done, because if I make bumper brackets on this now and then mounts it onto the car and then starts welding everything up and then everything gets all twisted up, it will be a nightmare, okay? So, like, I got to weld up these edges here, weld them on the inside and weld them on the outside, ground dress them, weld it up across here. Okay, weld this up here. I also want to eliminate these holes here, and I want to replace these sections here, okay? What I have for them is I have the sections of the bumper that I cut out of here. Now, one problem I got when I put this whole bumper together is that if you look over here, you can see the bumper's resting on the bench there. I took my voice off so I can do this bumper on the on the bench itself. But over here, the bumper's not straight. I've after noticing now this side here is tweaked a bit more. I need to break this one clear, straighten it up, put it on the bench here, and line it up with the bench so that both sides are the same. I can tell that this distance here, this whole section got to rotate up a small bit. This don't line up, and I think when I rotate this up, this will lay down flat again. So I got to do that. Of course, got to remove the grill. I got to make mounting points for this. They're only temporary, but I got to make that permanent for them. So that's what's involved with that. I would like to get all that done first before I venture into doing bumpers or bumper mounts on it. I have it pretty well a good idea of how I'm going to mount the bumper. We'll cover that. But for now, let's get this all welded up. She's putting up a fight. Had to let it all go again. I went and turned around, took a bunch of measurements, and what I've come to realize is the distance from here to the bench on this side is taller. And every time I bring this over to this here and weld it on, it'll lift up this side here, and that will in turn lift this corner up, right? That would in turn lift this corner up. What I'm after doing is I pull this out here at the end, I clamped it on here, then I struck it here with the hammer, big hammer there. And I just kept measuring from here to the bench and over there from there to the bench. And now I got it so, the trick I got to is I got to have this pretty well fall into place there and just weld it up without it moving. Because if I got to tweak it any bit, it lifts up this corner. So I think I might have it now. I got it that time. She's good there now. Nice level across here now. I can go ahead and start welding all this stuff up. Gotta weld this up here. Gotta split this here and bring this out to even two of them up there. I gotta weld all this up here. And repeat all the same process over here. But I'm gonna start from one side, do everything. I'm gonna weld this all up first, grind all this and flush it. Then I'm gonna split this back into this rolled edge here and then tweak it out a bit. And then re-weld that section here and have that finished, so that goes straight across there and just tapers off. And trim off the bottom, get this all grind and dressed. And then I'll move on to this piece and go from there. So I'll keep bringing you back every now and again. Just gonna do a bunch of welding here now and get a whole bunch of stuff grinded up. Just gonna do a little bit at a time. I got all this welded up here now. I'll finish this off, okay? You can sit down and go crack and weld everything up, but you're gonna hate the grinding, okay? As the welding is the easy part, the grinding is the part you hate. Once you got too much of it, it becomes a bit of a pain. So do a small section at a time, grind it, finish it, have it done. Move on to the next section. So I'm gonna grind all this up here now and get it ready so I can actually do the split on this here and get that all done. There you have that section done. I see where I split it up here and I bent it out and I re-welded it again so two of them come flush together like that. And then what I did then is I went from a 24 grit disc, which I cut everything down with, then I went and give it a sanding over them with an 80 grit. Okay. I also welded everything up inside as well. I'm not going to do nothing with that. Leave that just like it is. Okay. And so that's one section there done now. Now that will have to be filed, want to be, but like we've talked about this type of finish on the bumpers, right? Having the bumpers finished like this here, and just have it done in bare metal this way here, and do the whole bumper like it. And it's a nice shine, everything to it, but it's got this little scratched up finish to it, so it might suit the type of build it is. I don't know. It's up to him now, but I'm going to finish it off. Like this could be finished off a lot more than this, but I'm not going to take it any farther than this now, right? That's good enough for now. If you want to take it any farther and file it and do all that type of stuff with it, you can, okay? I got to move on now and get this here welded up. So I'm going to weld up this section here next. And I got a hole here I got to weld up. There was a dent. There was a high spot here. Over here, you can see this side here. There's a high spot there where the bumper bracket went down through and it pulled up on the bumper. So I went and dollied it up, and I'm going to sand that now and smoothen that out. So that's all done. I'm going to have to weld a little piece in there and fill that hole in. But first of all, I'm just going to weld all this across here and get this all grind, dressed, and get that done. And then we'll move on and do this section right here. So there, I got a lot of welding done up. That was a few hours work, I can guarantee you that. I got it all welded up and grinded up, and I finished it all off with 80. I got the separation up here welded, and the other one over here I got welded, and then I welded this side on as well. I also welded everything on the inside as well. Okay, I also welded the bottom right here, right there. Weld that inside and out. So now that I got that much done, what's left to do on this here now is I got to do these sections here. I got to replace them. and make them smooth. And also out here on the ends, I got to weld up these bumper holes. Okay, they gotta be welded up. We're eliminating them because we're gonna have the bumper bolts welded on the inside. So everything will bolt on this way here and it'll be all smooth on the outside. I'm gonna leave these alone for now. I'm not gonna bother with them. I don't know if we're gonna put a plate on the front of this or not, so, but I can always weld them up later, don't matter. I just wanted to get the gist of it all done. And we also got to do a little lip in here. We got to move this down roughly about another inch or so onto this here, and then I'm going to have this sort of that plating system there that bolts onto that, and I can weld up these holes here and have that done. So I'm going to get some of this 16 gauge or something now and just run along here and weld it right onto the edge of this here so I can actually bolt to it. I'll drill it out and have it so that I can actually bolt it on. Yeah, so let's see what I'm going to do next. What I'm going to do next. Let's work on them. Let's get started on these things here. Now, right here, I got this indentation, which used to be a bumperette. I'm eliminating that. I'm going to make it all smooth again. If you remember, I cut off these bumper ends, and there were sections that I cut off, these sections here. Okay? I'm hoping that there's enough in this here that I can actually cut out a piece that I can put over that and cap that, right? Now, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do here now because I know there's awful sharp edges and everything on this here, and I don't need the sharp edges. But I do have a bit of a roll here, and I think I can probably put it in it. And like all I'm going to do is like I'm going to cut this on, trim up a piece to fit in there. Now it's too heavy to be doing the cutting board on because it'll just got to be a wide gap, and I'll scribe it and mark it, and I'll cut it out and then lay the piece in there. So let's get cutting. So I started out cutting out a piece to fit there. When I started sizing it all up, it was on the wrong angle because when I lay this on there, like I wanted to have a nice even patch, put it in there nice and square, but when I lay this on there, it don't want to lay on square. When I squares it up, it just throws the whole piece of metal out of whack. As you can see that it sticks up and everything, but when I just rest it where it wants to and leave it alone, it goes where it wants it to go. So it's going to be a shape, it's going to be an odd looking patch. So then I started realizing the way this was shaped. It was high on this side, it was low on this side. And then the way this was turned like this was wrong. This is for this side. Right? Because that would be high there. High for that corner there. So I went ahead then and I cut up the second piece. I got that cut up. Then I marked it. I had to put a roll in it. I got that set up there now. So it's fitting pretty good. I'm going to mark it around there. I got a mark there now. I'm going to cut that out of there and start trimming this to fit. Right here on this end here, I got a little bit of a lip coming up here. This is flat, and all that's flat up here, and all this is flat down here. But right here, there's a little bit of a lip. And I haven't got enough material in this to move it over that far. So, you see it. So I'm going to mark this now and cut this out of this here and start fitting that piece in there. So here's where I'm to. I went and trimmed it up a few times, got it all to fit. Then I went and grinded it all down. There is a copper coating or a brass coating. I think it's a copper coating is what it is. It's on chroming. It's a process they do. It gets put in, it gets copper coated, and then it turns around. Then they can file it and sand it because it's nice and soft, and they can do any imperfections, and then it gets chromed, okay? It's best to grind all that off wherever you're going to weld, because it always becomes a nightmare, because then when you start cleaning it up, and you got the brass section or the copper section into it, it just turns around and affects your welds, okay? So I got that all cleaned up. It's not perfect to shape there. I think I'm going to hammer form it as I'm going. I'm happy where it's to now. I got a spot here and a spot over here that I think I'm just going to weld it on, and then I'm going to start sizing things up, tapping it. I got this side up here fitting good. Down here needs a bit more of a roll. Probably going to have you trim down here. But this side here and the top is fitting pretty good. This here has to be brought up, okay? But I'm just going to do one spot weld at a time, get it sitting in there so I'm happy with it, and then I'm just going to start hammering it around and working my way around the panel. Well now, that was interesting. Even got to do the cutting bolt on the top. Worked out really nice. All I was doing here is taking my time and making sure that I got a nice smooth transition between the two panels, okay? It's much the same as doing the patchwork. It's just that I got a lot of forgiveness on this because it's so heavy. It's heavy steel, right? There's the thickness of it there. There's the thickness of it there. Huh? It's pretty thick, right, for a bumper. It's almost an 1/8 inch thick. But yeah, I got that all welded up there now. Tacked in place. I'm happy with it. I'm just going to go in and blast all that in there, weld that in, and grind it off, see what it looks like. There you have it, all welded up. That's pretty cool there now, it's not bad, it's a little bit warm. But I'm going to go ahead now and grind it up and just see what it came out like. And there you have it, I'm pleased with that. Now I've been playing around with it a bit here. You can put a lot more time into this here, I can feel it there. I have my old Vixen file out and I start sanding it, playing around with it. You can tap it in from the back because it's pretty heavy steel, so you can really work this. You got lots of material to remove, right? And but I'm happy with that. I can get carried away with this, looking at all that there. Like you can turn around here now, lay that across there. My own light. See if I can set this up, everything you can see in there. You see the way that is there, look? Gets down the bottom, then down here is a little spot right here. I don't mind pointing stuff out. I'm human. Little spot there, right? All that can be worked if we go to the next stage in the bumper itself. But what I'm happy with it now is that the flow is here, and the flow across the front is here. It's good too. Rotate that down like that. It's got a nice flow across the front here as well. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side done now. And there you have it, the other side. It's still got to be fine-tuned, but that's good enough for now. And we'll go decide what we're going to do with it. We'll fine-tune it. There's a little bit of a low spot down through there. Small little spot. But that's fine. I'm happy with that. So now we got that done. Both bumper ends are done. We got the upper bumper pieces done. And we got these done. All we got left to do now is get the ends welded up. It's coming together nicely here now. What I'm going to weld up on it now are these ends here. These here. I'm going to weld up that hole there, and there's two on the other side as well. And all I'm going to use for that is, where's it going? I got these sections right here. These are sections that I cut out of the front of the bumper here, and I hung on to them. And they're the actual same thickness and same material as the bumper. And all I'll do is I'll fit them in there, tack weld it in place, and then weld it and grind it up. them all welded up. Then I come over here and I've done this side. Same process. Pretty simple. Nothing fancy. Okay? One more thing I got to do about this, and I forgot about it. I got to extend this lip down about an inch. So I got to get some steel there now and see what I can find. It's going to be thick enough to put there so I can weld it on there and have it so that I can have a mounting bracket for that panel that goes in here, right? So dig out some metal for that now. So I'm out here now and I got this all cleaned up and I managed to find 2 braces that I had here on a bench and I straightened them up and they're pretty well like brand new. I'm going to weld them right on there. They'll be best kind for that. And that way then I'll have a spot then I can actually drill holes in. I can bolt to it. So all I'm going to do, I bevel off this edge here because it's going to be hard to weld the back side of this here. So I V this on an angle like that so I can get the penetration right down inside the bumper itself and get this welded on. This here is a little bit thicker than the bumper, I think. Small bit thicker, close to the same, right? So get that welded on there now. So I got that all welded up there. I never grinded this off too crazy because I wants to keep a bit of meat on that, whereas actually I can't weld the back side of it, it's too hard to get at. But, you know, I turn around and get the straight edge put across it and it's pretty straight going along between all that there. So I need that bit of meat there because this kind of like got this going on, then it goes uphill here a bit. So there's that straight across that way there and it gives a bit of strength to it all. And then I just rounded up the edges up here. And so now I got a lift that I can actually mount something to. I got the bracket here. And what I got to do, I got to weld that up here in the middle as well. But I'm going to clamp it in place first. Where it's got to go into this here. And mark it. I want to do some more welding on this. It's still a bit flimsy. So I'll make sure that is in the right shape to it. And then that way I can get all this welded up. So that way I can mount that on there. So I got that all welded up, grinded off, welded it up on the inside as well. So I got that ready now. I can mount that onto the front of this here. I got to drill a bunch of holes. I don't have enough bolts here to be doing any more of this. I've have to run out of bolts, that size anyway. I got lots of nuts and bolts, some metric stuff there, but I haven't got nothing standard to actually just throw all this together because I had a hard time finding bolts for the grill. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm just going to fit this up in place, put it in position, and I'm going to tack weld it back on like it was before. And that way I can mark the holes and drill them out and at a later date, and I can get all that done. So I'm just trying to get this now so I can actually get this bumper bolted onto the front of the car. So there it is now all put together. You see I just tack welded that on temporarily for now. I got to drill out the holes here and pick up bolts and everything so I can bolt that on. But I got to tack weld it on there. It's tricky getting it on there because it's a tight fit. It just don't lay in place. You just clamp it in there. It's really got to be pulled tight. So if I just let it rest there, it just don't want to move. And so I had to clamp this side here, tack weld it on, to come over here and tweak it, and then clamp this side over here and then weld it, right? So I just got to tack weld it on. I'll drill out the holes and I'll put nuts and bolts in it then after, right? But that's the complete bumper now made up. All the modifications have been done to it. May do something with these license plate holes later. Not going to worry about them right now. This recess, I think we're leaving in there. It's a lot of work to take that out of it and try to get this here to flow right so you can't notice that it's welded up. I've after seen a few customs now with this bumper on the front of it, and they leave this in it. So it's just one of those things you leave on the front of the car. It looks good. And like the nice flow down the back here where all this goes, right? So now that I got that all made, next thing I do now is I got to mount it to the chassis. So here's where we're to. I got the bumper now all welded up. Everything's done on that. Now next thing I do, I got to find a way to mount it. These brackets here are the original ones belong to it. They used to bolt onto it. There's a little notch right here. They used to go here. And where the bumper has been narrowed, it moves everything over. Right here, roughly about right here, is where I got the frame rail coming out on the car right here. My whole plan is simple, okay? I'm going to rig this up so this lays in place in here. I got to trim it up some in here so it fits in there nice. I'm going to weld a stud on here so this bolts on here. And I'm going to weld a stud on here so this bolts on here. Then all I'm going to do is bring it over where the rail is to. I'm just going to come up here with a piece of 2x3 and then come this way with a diagonal, and that'd be it. That way it'll bolt onto the bumper here. and you can move it up and down, up and all that type of stuff. So I'm not going to make it too complicated. This side here will be the same way. This bracket will bolt on, and then it'll be just a 90-degree piece coming off of this here. So I want to get this now trimmed up and get these fitting inside the bumper. So here's where I'm to. I went and found the spot where I wanted it. I had to trim it off because it was sticking out. I wanted to move it up, but the way this bracket is here, it's bringing up in the bumper itself. So that's where it's going to have to lay. This is where it actually falls in place and it lays down. And you can see the spot right here I cleaned up, and the spot right here I cleaned up. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld 2 studs to that there, and I'm going to put a bolt on that there and a bolt on there, and that's what's going to hold the bracket in, because that's all was on it before was 2 bolts, okay? And then the bumper bolted on here. All I did for that is I went hunting around through my bin of leftover bolts, and I found a couple of different sizes, because I want the big one for the down here and the smaller one from the outside. These are actual bumper bolts. Got the chrome caps and everything on. All I did was I cut the cap off it, okay? Then I grinded it down. I laid it there in the hole in the bench, held it down, grinded it down, and I'm left with a little stud like this here with a flat side on it. That'll go on like that, and then I'll weld it around there, and that'll be my stud. So I got them all bolted on and welded on. I got both of them done. Same process for one side of this for the other. Now what I went and did, now that I got all them done, I got washers and everything put on them there for space them up. I think I'm going to have to make spacers for these because of the square part of the nut. Worry about that. I got a big washer on the bottom. This one top, and it's all tightened up nice, right? And then I took measurements from here to the bumper hole here, and the same with this side here to make sure too we're in roughly the same location, and they're about a 1/16 inch in the difference, which I don't mind, okay? What I got here now is I measured up right here from this point here to this point here is my is the outside the frame rails. Now I measured up off the floor. The distance I have from the floor is 5 inches, okay? You can see 5 inches there. Now the distance from the bottom of the rail is 5 3/4. So it's about right here somewhere. So the bottom of the frame rail is about here. So my plan is now is to make a bracket that'll just weld right on here. That'll just go this way, okay? That'll be it. It'll go straight up and down like that, and then it'll bolt into the frame rail that way there. And I could probably run a support off it from here down to here somehow if I want to. But for now, I'm just going to make the bracket. I just like to get this mounted on the car so I can say, okay, it's mounted. I got to drill holes and dress everything up, make everything look pretty, but I'm not going to worry about that. This video's getting pretty long now, so let's see if we can get this here hung in place and get a couple of brackets made and bolted on. So here's what I got. I got a piece of 2x3 here, which is the same as the frame rail itself. So what I intend to do here now is I'm going to turn around and cut this piece off. It's only 12 inches long. Should be long enough. There's about 3 inches, I think, goes into the bumper. And then the rest of this here will be on the frame rail. That way I can put 2 bolts in it and Bob's your uncle. What I'm going to do with this here now is I remember having a hot rod years ago, and there was a lot of brackets made on it. And when you start sizing them up, everything was made from a square stock like this here, and they just cut it all out. So all I'm going to do is cut this off, turn it on the side this way here, and then split it right down the middle, okay? I'll dress the ends of it, everything after the fact, but then I'll have a nice little C channel that'll only be about 1 inch wide that I can actually dress up after the fact and everything, that I can put 2 holes in and it'll look like an actual bumper bracket. So let's get this cut off. So there you got 2 brackets now that you can actually bolt down from the side and got a nice structural support to them. All I'll do now is I'll trim these up and fit them down inside there so I can actually weld that all the way through there and then through there. I'll make it permanently part of this bracket and I'll weld it on solid. Only thing with it is now is how high is this going to be and where is this going to be in reference this way here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bumper over now, set it up on the floor with the blocks bolt the grill on, screw the grill in place, get all that laid in place so I know exactly where it got to go. And then I'll just go up underneath the car, line this up on the frame rail, slide it out, and start fitting it and trimming it to fit to that. And then so that it will slide right into that, and I'll be able to weld it on. But first thing before those down, I'm going to grind all this so this is be ready to weld to. So here's where I'm to. I got it all situated back on the car again. The grill is bolted onto the bumper. I got that screwed back onto the body where that got to go. Then I turn around and I set up my blocks, and then I shimmed it to where I thought was right. Then I took a bunch of measurements to make sure that the distances on both sides were the same. All right? On both sides here were the same. This fender's got a bit of a tip in on the end that I noticed. I took measurements from here into the chassis rail in sections, trying to get an idea of where it was to. From here to the body, here to the body here. Took all that, stood back here and looked at it to where the bumper comes on around the side of it, make sure it's nice and level with the rest of the car. What I did then is I went in here, I clamped on this flat bar right here on the bottom of the frame rail, okay? And I got that done so when I lays the outer mount in place, as you can see I got that one laid in place, it'll actually lay flat. I haven't got to worry about trying to hold it and all. I'll just slide in and I can figure out where I got to do the cuts. All I had to do was just trim it up. I went over and I slid it in place and I marked it. Come over here and I trimmed it. I went over and test fit it and trimmed it and test fit it and trimmed it till I got it where I was happy with it. And as you can see, that's how it fits on the car there. You can see the section up here where it's all notched in around, fits into the bumper cover. This flat bar was on the bottom, and it just slides in over top of that and it lines up with the rails. And then I'll bolt it on here with a couple of bolts, and I'm going to weld it on here solid. So I'll get that welded up there now. And so I got them tacked in place there now. Bit of welding and everything on them there now that I got. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead now and get them all welded up. So I got two of them pretty well welded on. There's some spots there I got to take the bumper bracket off in order to weld it up. And I want to clean all these up and dress them and everything. And they're going to be taken off, probably sandblasted or whatever. And I also want to put a brace from here down to here somewhere as well. Not going to worry about that right now. It's to round up these edges. Got to drill holes and all this type of stuff. But in order to drill the holes in this here, get all the alignment and everything done on it, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fit it on the car, put it where I want to, and I'm going to put a couple of quick tacks on the top side of this here, just to hold the bumper in place, so then we can finish off this video and say we got the bumper mounted. I got to drill holes and everything in it, yes, to bolt it all on, but that's just drilling holes, put nuts and bolts in it. It's just straightforward. All the fabrication end of it is completed, so let's get this put up in place. And there you have it. I went and put the eyebrow back on there as well. Got the bumper on. I just got a tack welded in place there now, but it's solid. It's on there. That is our home. That's the way the car is going to look with the bumper and everything on it. All I got done in here now is I just turn around and down, if you look down here, I had a couple of tack welds welded on them, because what I want to do is I want to take the bumper bracket, let it go from the bumper, take the bumper off, and that way I can turn around and get in there and do a nicer job drilling holes and stuff like that to get the holes and everything in the bumper itself, to hold the bumper on. But that's it. We got all the modifications done to it. Still haven't decided what we're going to do with the plate ones here, but all the holes have been welded up. All the spots where I split across here in the front, all that's been welded up now, and it fits nice with the grill. Where the grill fits on it. Where I narrowed the bumper on the sides. Took, I think it was like close on 4 inches out of each side. And I got them all done, grind and dressed. Same with the ones down the bottom there. I noticed over here, you can see where I welded the bolt on. Look what I forgot to do over here. I never welded them on there. Ooh, that had to be done too, so. But this one's getting pretty long here now. I want to get this bumper hung on the car, show you that this is where it's going to belong. So, anyway, this is where we're going to leave this one. Hope the tips were good, and until next time.